sometimes shame or inadequacy or unworthiness sort of things. So there are deeper layers of feelings and deeper layers of needs, which is actually where the cycle of connection happens. And NVC is a fabulous framework for the cycle of connection. The thing is, for many of us in our intimate relationships, if we can't understand and interrupt our disconnection cycle, when we get triggered, it comes along and even though we know that what we're saying isn't supporting connection, it's as if we're not able to reach our NVC skills and do what we know is the more likely to connect thing. Does that make sense? So
Makes
if you've
so
ever
much sense. Yes, yeah. And I
so
think, so many couples just like got and get stuck in there and then never get out of that, and little thing could end up into a big thing because you just keep being repeated, and then people lose touch and lose their love and everything. And I mean, imagine that people could divorce because they didn't just look at that one thing and work through that, and then thinking this is it, there's nothing they could do. But when there is, and you're just sharing it, that it is very possible, very exciting. Yeah.
And it is exciting to me. Like, as I just went, oh wow, so exciting, because I had seen so many people, even after days and days and days, hours and hours of coaching, even through the Embodying NVC program. Sometimes people would say, but right in the moment when I really need to be able to respond in this empathetic way or whatever, I can't do it. And that's because there's something else going on. There's nothing wrong with you, and it's not necessarily your partner or the relationship. There's something
Or that you're
happening.
not good enough in NVC.
Exactly, yeah, because then that's it. The tendency is then to go, oh, I must be not good enough yet, or I can't do this, or this isn't working. And what's really happening is we're wired to protect ourselves. So in our relationship, when we feel scared of losing connection with the other person, things happen in our body and our mind, which are our best attempt to try to not lose connection. But when they're coming from that reactive, raw place that sometimes has some very long threads back to our childhood and various ways that we handle things, we sometimes don't do the very thing that would actually build connection. So that's what I want to focus on in the Bali IIT, so people really go away with that clarity.
Yeah, definitely very, very excited about that. I can't wait now. Are you going to be like bringing materials or books or things that would, because the thing I'm asking is, like, as you know, during IIT there's so many sessions, and if you've been to an IIT, you want to go to everything, and I know you would not be able to, and you have to give up something, and so it's like, that's the pay, right? So let's say, like, we cannot go because there's something that is either more important for us at that moment, or like, and for some people, especially the people who are going to take the foundation class, that would take the first 4 days, right? And which I highly recommend. I think it's very important to get the foundation down pat. But let's say there's an exciting session of yours that we have to miss. How can people catch up or make up for that?
I think it's difficult with this one because you can read about it and still not understand that blind spot that you have. So I do have an online course that is a smaller one that is about how to start to understand what you do in that disconnection cycle.
Okay, well, that's something. That's something
that people could do or could access somehow. I haven't thought about how for the people in the IIT, but I'm sure we can come up with something there. And when I'm in the sessions, I will do some work from the front of the room where people can start to also see. And I like to do lots of work in pairs or threesomes.
Experiential. experience.
So because you really have to feel this in yourself, because unless you can feel when you're in that disconnection cycle energy, you won't be able to recognize it. You won't be able to unpack it and kind of bring empathy and care to what's driving it. And therefore, you also won't be able to interrupt yourself from doing what is your habit. Because it's a habit, a protective habit. Yeah. And we're trying to bring online some of these exiled, softer, new parts. And so that's what we'll be doing. So it's not so easy to give a handout.
It's not going to be exactly the same being, with you, but I think the online course probably would be a small consolation. Can people access that through your website?
Yeah, you can go to my website. You can go to my website today if you like.
Everyday Love, right?
Yeah, everydaylove.com.au.
Okay, I'm posting it here for people who want to start already checking that out. Yeah.
And it's called Back to Love, the course, which is the one I was just speaking about then. Yeah.
Online course is called Back to Love.
Yeah.
I love that.
And you'll see that there is another course there, which is called Connection Essentials. And that is actually a good one for anyone who hasn't done a foundation training and is coming to the IIT.
What is it called? What is called the other one?
Connection Essentials.
The foundation course online is called the Essential Connection.
Connection Essentials.
Okay, can you type it in? I think you probably just write that down. So how's everybody else? Is everybody doing? Do you enjoy this so far? Let us know. And if you have comments or questions, and thank you, Lucy, for making that comment. Anyone else, if you have any question, we can start having question. We have another, about 15, almost 20 minutes. So, and I also still want to ask Mukti about the couple therapy that you said that you're going to elaborate on, or is that already explained?
I could say some more about that, but I also really love to answer any questions that anybody has if they want to ask something. Can they ask verbally or only? Here we go. I love the idea of deeper emotions like fear and sadness that we can explore and feel into. Yeah. And see, the thing is that often, and even though NVC has such a great framework for helping us to untangle what's going on inside, and that was what I loved about it when I first found it, if we try to express ourselves from that place of sharing our frustration, our irritation, those kind of level of feelings, very often that energy doesn't invite or draw someone closer to us. It tends to be an energy that people
repulses
back from. So we want to also, I'm going to be working with you on how to actually recognize an emotion that will pull for connection versus an emotion which you can use to get better in touch with yourself, but is probably not going to be one that will pull for connection with your loved ones.
And I think that is probably the main issue, when you're in the conflict, you really want to connect, but all you do is actually pushing the other person further away. And that's the biggest challenge. And I think most of the population is facing that. And that's how people drift apart from each other.
Well, that's one of the responses, is to pursue connection, even though you can see that the other person is moving away from you. But also, so that might be approximately, these are generalizations, but people might say that roughly 70% of women are more inclined to pursue for connection like that, whereas it's the opposite, where men tend to be the majority that tend to pull away. Now, that's not always the case. I mean, I tend to, and we move a little bit depending on what the other person, how they play in the relationship. And I, with some relationships, tend to pull away more. So you can't make huge, concrete generalizations, but just to say that that's probably unique to you, Miranda, that you pursue, and I might do something different if I wasn't feeling good in a relationship space. And
from all the people I guess all the people that I work with, it usually the majority, it would be the men that just kind of like, oh, it's too much, like, and I think everybody would be curious to how I think most women would at some point have that, like in common.
Yeah.
And so I guess, we want to know how to work with, okay, let's say we won't generalize, we won't penalize the men for that. We just say, how do we work with, people who tend to move away when shit's hit the fan or something like that.
Yeah. So we're going to have a lot of fun exploring all of these things.
Yeah. Okay. Well, does that address what you just mentioned, Jane, or is there something else? Anybody else have more questions?
Hi, Jane's coming in from Chicago. Hi, Jane.
And Lucy's coming from the States too, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
So, and Lucinda's in Australia, so making so much sense, feeling more excited. And Jane's going, yes, beautiful to me. Yeah, it is really, it's pretty beautiful. And in the therapy work that I do, because sometimes if we have depends on what we have in our history, our relationship history, our bonding history, that can affect some of the ways that we behave, and it can impact some of our capacity to interrupt that cycle. So we might do a little bit of stuff as well to do some healing stuff maybe around some of those things in our past that might be influencing how we show up in that part of our relationship. So Dietrich's saying, can you please talk a bit about how you include spirituality in your work? Oh, yes. So for me, NVC is a way back into connection with oneself, but it's also, as we connect to those needs, we can actually open to those needs not as something I don't have and I need to get, but as qualities of our very being. And so that we can become more connected to our essence. Because to me, the needs for joy and love and sharing or peace, these are qualities of our essential nature. And if you think about how Marshall said, the essence of us is compassion, really. He may not have worded it quite in that way, but that's what he was pointing to, that we're already natural giraffes. We know this is our nature to communicate and connect in this way. And to me, it's possible to use this framework to further support us to connect to those needs and to go beyond that sense of I've got to do something about it. And there's a freedom that opens up in that space. There's an internal and it's internal, external freedom from being driven by I've got to meet my needs, because that was a point where I got to with NVC where I thought, is this it? Am I just this bag of bones and blood and needs and feelings, and I've got to spend my whole life trying to untangle this and get my needs met? And so for me, personally, it was really important to actually go beyond seeing myself like that and to realize actually that's not what I am. I have this animal form and this animal body, which has certain needs, like human beings are social creatures. So that need for belonging and so on comes up, but it's not who I am. And we can explore the spirituality of who we are in this nature of us as this compassionate, loving human being and this energy that we are beyond, but yet experiencing this social animal experience. So I do hope, who asked that? Deetra, I do hope you're coming and going to play with me with that.
Yeah, Deetra is coming. So Deetra is coming. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. You know, like the talk is about spirituality. It's a bit hard just to talk about it. You know, I think I hope you have some way to experience what you just said, because if you just explain it, it's just like information, it's just theory, but it needs to be experienced, right? To understand what you're trying. And I like that, you know, that you're thinking, or you know, that you're mentioning beyond the needs, because sometimes we get it's the first thing is like it's amazing, it's exciting to understand about needs and needs being acknowledged, but then it can also entangle us and get us stuck with that, okay, trying to meet the needs. And but so I'm very curious about, you know, going also like deeper or beyond that. I'd like to mention a few things. So if you are you can tell your friends about the IIT, about this, and there's going to be a replay, and the replay can be shared, so anybody can come and watch this wonderful conversation. And it's also later we're going to put this in the website, so it's going to be the recording is going to be permanent, so people can touch on that. In closing, do you have any comments or questions? And if not, I also would like to ask you, Mukti, for your message. What would you like to the attendees or to the listeners to take away from this?
That everything that you are doing is an attempt to meet your common human needs, and the same is true for your partner. And that sometimes we have some really tragic ways in intimate relationships of reacting when we don't feel secure in ourselves or in the relationship. And so if you can remember that and hold that in your heart, then you can start to explore that for yourself, and maybe start to have some more empathy for your partner and how you trigger each other off. I think that's my message.
I think that is in a nutshell, isn't it? That's where we got off track and we lost ourselves in the relationship, just with that little thing. It's little, but it's really deep affecting. So well, thank you. Anyone else? We still have a few more minutes. If you have any question, and either for me or for Mukti. And just for your information, tonight, later today, so this is like in about 4 hours time, I'm going to back on another live webinar with Carl. So if you'd like to join, I already posted in Facebook, or in the WhatsApp group for the past IIT attendees. Please share, and that should be exciting. And then tomorrow, at 6 p.m. Bali time, I don't know whatever that time is for you, we're going to have Dorset for the live webinar. Yeah, so you're going to meet everybody. And then we still miss Barbara, and I hope to do another one of Surah, because yesterday was our first time, and we didn't quite master, or I didn't quite master the technical part of it yet. So it's the recording is not as smooth, and the process is not as good as today's. I think today went out pretty smoothly, I believe, and everybody's there. Yeah. So find us in Facebook. We'll put the updates, and also in the Bali NVC.com. We already have the list of sessions that's going to be offered during the 9 days, and I'm going to put that up in the next couple of days, so that you already have an idea what each day is going to be offering. Yeah. Do you have it in the top of your head, Mukti? You want to share that, or should they?
What I'm going to be offering?
Yeah, the 9 days.
Yes, I can tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to come to a different screen here. So I am going to be focusing on In the first day, the disconnection cycles in intimate relationships and interrupting the disconnection through warmth and self-empathy. And then the next day is, it's about scary honesty. So we're going to look at empathy and what blocks you in your intimate relationship from speaking up. And we will look also at how sometimes when we're being honest, it really is scary because it's not coming from our heart, it's coming from our critical thinking. And so we will be looking to find and help people to experience within themselves their sweet spot, I call it, for honesty. And then we're going to do being empathy and finding the warmth of empathy within yourself. That's the next day, which is a whole day about empathy across the whole IIT. And we will do some practicing of empathy because I've seen people who've done so much learning and training, and still empathy is not a very easy thing to do. And one of the things that I have some different things I've learned in my emotionally focused therapy training, which I think are good things to add into the way we empathize. Day 5 is about healing and transformation. And so we will do some healing work around intimate relationships. So I'm going to do that for the whole day. So that will be an open day. People can come and bring what's going on and we will work with that. Day 6 is about mediation and conflict resolution. That's the day I'm working with Carl. We'll be teaching people the basics of mediation. And hopefully that means that for some people, coming to the IIT is tax deductible for your workplace. and a lot of the skills transfer across. So you can get into these disconnection cycles with somebody you work with as well. The 7th day is social change. So Sura and I are working together on that, creating a new story. And that could be in any way. It could be in your relationship. It could be wider than that. Day 8 is about NVC parenting and in schools. So I'm sure Sura is going to bring some amazing things on that day. And I will be focusing on NVC as a language for secure attachment with your children. Because that's the thing that we can help them have so that their intimate relationships down the track have the best chance, because otherwise it will come up for them again there. And in the afternoon of that day, we're going to be looking at being a parent and being part of a couple, or being a parent and not being part of a couple, and how you balance your needs for contributing to children as well as for your own and your relationship if you're in one care. And the last day is about gratitude and gratitude for yourself and your relationship. There you go. I didn't think that I would have all that, did you?
Yes. Well, thank you for being so fast in preparing that, having it ready to be shared. And but I'll put that in the website as well. It sounds like a very complete package. Yeah, and the struggle is always, how can we get all of it?
Well, potentially there's so much in the content of this IIT, and such a fantastic, to me, cross-section of trainers in our trainer group. I think whatever you bring that's in your heart, you will be able to make significant progress and use it for your learning and your healing. And 9 days of immersing yourself with us, if that doesn't help you, be surprised and disappointed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's only 2 months away, and time is just going to be flying so fast. So if you haven't registered, if you know people who want to register, and let them know, and start getting ready. And it's going to be a lot of information coming in about preparing to come. And I think last year what we did was we invite all participants to bring something typical, like typical snacks from their home country, and then we share that for snack time. And so I'll put that in a newsletter or in our email, but just so that that's one of the fun thing we're going to do. All right. Okay.
My experience too, Miranda, and I'm guessing it will be similar, is that at an IIT, you don't have to worry about much at all except yourself and where you're going to go and what you're going to focus on that day. I mean, everything else is kind of there and taken care of. So it's very caring, nurturing environment.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, you don't have to think about, I mean, like that's what's so nice being in a retreat like that. You can just like take a break from your normal day-to-day chores and all things like that. And we have, like in Bali is very inexpensive, so there's a lot of things, and there's so many things just around that. So it's going to be a very, very lively experience, and a beautiful place, wonderful trainers, and hopefully we'll do it even better than last year. Yeah. So with that, thank you so much for attending this webinar. That's Mukti, one of the trainers, the 5 trainers that are going to be at the IIT. Mukti is from Sydney, and my Miranda Rumi, and I'm the chief organizer for this IIT. So if you have any questions, please come, and don't forget to share the replay. So until the next one, and until the next webinar with me, and until Bali with Muti, Sura, Dorset, Carl, and Barbara. Cheerio. Take care and see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.